everybody, it's Joy from the Women's AI Visibility Institute, and we're continuing our series this week on entity. And today we're going to talk about borrowed visibility compared to owned visibility. Right now, most, if not all, almost all, women attorneys live off of borrowed visibility. And what I mean by borrowed visibility is items that you don't control. You don't control LinkedIn. It can change its algorithm anytime it wants to. You don't control legal directories. You can change the information, but if they change the system in which it operates, you don't have any control over that. You might not have any control over your website page or your bio page. It might be written for you. It more than likely doesn't have any schema markup, which is the structured data that you need to be found by AI. You probably don't have any control over that if you work for a large firm or a medium sized firm. You might if you work for a small firm or you're a solo practitioner. Those are the things that it's really like you're renting the building. And those things, you don't control it and it can change on a dime. What does that mean? That means if it changes, your visibility can go away, especially if you leave a firm and you want to start your own or you go to another one. We talked about that earlier in the week. Own visibility travels with you, and that's why it's so important. Own visibility is writing an article that gets published. It's always published. You can access it, you can reference it. Owned visibility or owned entity is infrastructure that you can place on your website. We've talked about Wikidata this week. That's an owned asset. It doesn't matter if you stay at a firm, you go to another firm, or you start your own business, that designation stays, moves with you. That's why it's so valuable, is because once you are in the database, it doesn't change. And that is so powerful for you as a standalone entity. Let's back up a little bit. The reason why it's so important to build your own entity is because AI is getting smarter all the time. So if you think in the beginning, AI didn't recommend law firms because it couldn't verify credibility. Now AI is recommending law firms and lawyers. In the future, it's going to recommend lawyers. If someone puts in a query, I am looking for a divorce attorney in Denver, and I need someone that deals with contentious divorces and child custody matters. If you've made the connection with AI, it's not going to come back with a firm, it's going to come back with a person. And the reason why it would come back with a person is because you've established your entity. Think about what that is worth, the value of that. We talked about earlier in the week referrals, how a referral works. And I was just in a meeting and I said, I hear all the time, I build my business on referrals. Yep, I bet you do. Someone gives a referral, that person who receives it is looking you up. The statistics don't lie, the data backs it up. Boomers, people my age, they might take that referral and call, but every generation after me is looking you up. If you're not in that circle or that framework, that referral doesn't call, becomes less valuable. The problem is, the issue is, you can't measure the phone call you don't get. So, statistically, we know that the person who calls, if they don't talk to somebody in a couple of minutes, they go on to the next firm. But how do you measure if you never get that call? But if you own your entity, if you own your identity, that's an asset that's going to stay with you for the length of your career. Why is it important for women? Because we're starting from behind. When AI uses historical data for their training data, historically, women attorneys are not in that data as much as men are. Live searches. Women don't have as much content in live searches as men do. That's why writing articles, writing blogs, getting credit for it, being active on YouTube about what you do and how you do it, making yourself relatable. That's the assets that you can develop to start building your identity. So if you think about your business as borrowed visibility versus owned visibility, you can quickly see how important owned visibility is. So that's what we want to work towards. Next week, we're going to walk through the different steps that you can do to start creating your own visibility and start building it layer upon layer. All right, that's it for today. I hope it was helpful, and I'll see you next time.